Hello everyone, my name is Ram and welcome to Sprint Master. Today I'm going to talk about my Amazon interview experience. But before I do that, I want you to do me a favor by clicking that red subscribe button below so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. With that being said, let's get into it. Interviews. When it comes to interviews, everyone has a unique experience, and some of them are sweet while some of them are not so great. When I talk about an interview experience, it isn't just about the hour of interview. It starts with the recruiters first, and then your travel, your accommodations, your phone screens, your on-sites, and if you're offered a job, your offer and beyond. Today I'm going to share my Amazon interview experience which landed a job for me with Amazon. This happened around the time frame of April May of 2019, and I have briefly touched on how the timeline was in my other video of how I prepared for my Amazon interview. If you want to watch it, I'm dropping a link in the description below so that you can watch it later on. Enough of the introductions, now let's talk about my Amazon interview experience. Number 1, recruiters. Any interview experience begins with recruiters. Honestly, the first impression of a company to a candidate comes with their communication with the recruiters. So it is not always one-sided when it comes to interviews. Employers choose you, at the same time you have to choose if the employer is a right fit for you as well. Employees choose a candidate by checking their profile, their problem solving skills, as well as they check if you are a right fit for the culture of the company or not. In a similar fashion, a candidate must also check if the employer is treating you right and if they are meeting your expectations, as well as if you fit in the culture of the company or not. So this decision starts with the recruiters. I have been to many interviews before. Some of the companies have recruiters and some of the companies don't. But ultimately the point is the first person who you talk to in the company gives you an impression of how the company is and what is the culture of that company. My Amazon recruiter reached my expectations. She was one of the best recruiters I had worked with. My recruiter reached out to me via email and she sent a link for online assessment. It was only after the online assessment I had my first interaction with my recruiter. So it was a little different experience because I was expecting something like an introductory call or something before the online assessment, but that didn't happen. After my online assessment, I had my first interaction, and after that, she was really helpful throughout the interview process. She gave me the resources I need to prepare for my phone screen, for my online assessment, and she was available for me when I had some questions about the interview process and what are the next steps or something like that. And she was also really quick in responding back with the results of the interview. So that overall left me a positive experience with the recruiter. Number 2, phone screen interview. Phone screen interview is the first interaction you may get with engineer of that company. And for some of the companies, maybe it is the first step of the interview process itself, and this is one step getting you closer to your dream job. For my Amazon phone screen interview, my recruiter reached out to me and she inquired about my availability, and she was able to schedule one of the days as my phone screen interview. And I received a confirmation email with a live coding session link as well as the instructions on how to join the interview call. On the day of phone screen interview, I followed the instructions in the email and entered the Chime session, Amazon Chime session, through which they conduct these interviews. And I was a little early to the call, so I was waiting for my recruiter. And meanwhile, I was just relaxing and made myself comfortable for that call. And finally, my interviewer joined the call, and he gave a brief introduction about himself and like what he does at Amazon. And after the formalities, he started asking the behavioral questions. My Amazon phone screen interview was about an hour length. So for any Amazon SDE interview, the pattern is something similar to this one. They ask a couple of behavioral questions based on their 14 leadership principles, and after that they go into the actual coding questions. So my interviewer also followed the similar pattern, and he asked around 3 to 4 behavioral questions based on these leadership principles, and I was able to come up with some examples from my past experience and answered these questions. So my recruiter actually told me beforehand that I have to be prepared for questions based on these leadership principles. So I prepared some examples for each of these leadership principles, and when the interviewer asked me the questions, I was able to answer them comfortably. And after that, he asked me a question based on arrays, and I think I was able to solve that in an optimal fashion. And by the time I wrote the code on this live code session, the time was pretty much up, and but the interviewer gave me a chance to ask a couple of questions to him. So I asked some questions on how his experience was with Amazon, and after that, I thanked him for his time, and we wrapped up the session. The next day, my recruiter called me and told me that Amazon is satisfied with my phone screen interview performance and they want to proceed with the on site interview for me. And she gave me a phone number for the Amazon travel team and she asked me to contact them to set up the reservations for my travel to the on site interview. Number three, travel and accommodations. So, as per my recruiter session, I gave a call to the Amazon travel team and they inquired few basic details about my name, some details on like what is my preference of the flights and what is my preference on the hotel stay, some things like that. And at the end of the call, I was able to get the itinerary of my flights and the hotel reservation, and they asked me to confirm if everything looks okay, and I confirmed that. And Amazon travel team confirmed that flight reservations and the hotel bookings, and they already paid for both the flight reservations and the hotel bookings. And for the travel in between, like from my from the airport to the Amazon on-site interview or from my home to the airport, they asked me to keep the receipts of all that travel as well as whatever the meals I eat in between. So they asked me to keep all the receipts and so that they can reimburse after the interview. And after the interview, I submitted all these receipts and I got my money back within a week period. Number four, on-site interview. I know this is the thing which you are awaiting the most. So for my Amazon on-site interview, it started at 8:30 in the morning and ended at 12:30. So which was like a 4 hour period. I have four interviews back to back within that compressed time frame, and the interviews were pretty intense due to the fact that like it is a back to back interviews, right? So after all these four interviews, I felt like I am pretty much drained and so exhausted, and I just want to go back to home, nothing more. On the day of my onset interview, I had some breakfast at my hotel itself, and I called a taxi from my hotel to the onset interview. And I checked in at the reception of the Amazon facility and asked for my recruiter. She came out and picked me up, and she offered me some coffee, and then she dropped me at my first interview room. For my first round of on-site interview, a senior Amazon engineer along with another interviewer came into my room. And before the interview began itself, he told me that the senior engineer is the only person who will be interviewing me, and the other person is just a shadow interviewer. Meaning, this guy will learn how to interview a candidate from this senior engineer, and he is like a more like an upcoming interviewer in training. And anyways, we jumped right into the behavioral questions, and after that, he asked me a question based on the recursion, and I was struggling a little bit for this recursion question, and I took a pause, and I didn't answer much in the first few minutes, and because I was nervous actually, and my interviewer understood that, so and he didn't rush the things, so he just patiently waited for me to respond, and I took some time and took a deep breath, and then I started answering this question. And I think I solved that question pretty fairly, if not in the best optimal fashion, but I definitely solved that question in a reasonable manner. So throughout my first round of interview, my interviewer was typing notes on how I am solving that problem and how what is my approach of solving that problem, along with what code I wrote on the board. So after the interview was over, I had few minutes left. So I used restroom at that point and took a deep breath. And I know I kind of messed up that interview a little bit. So I kind of like got relaxed a little bit, and I was just prepared for the next interview. And then comes my second interviewer. And I'm pretty sure my second interviewer was the Amazon bar raiser for my interview loop, because he belongs to a different organization than the rest of my interviewers. So if you don't know what an Amazon bar raiser is, to give you a brief introduction, Amazon bar raiser is also an interviewer just like the other interviewers, but he typically belongs to a different organization than the one you are interviewing with. And the primary focus of the Amazon bar raiser is to check if you are meeting the Amazon bar, which is like if you are actually meeting the standards of the Amazon based on the quality standards, or your coding skills or the problem solving skills. something like that. And ultimately the bar raiser and the hiring manager, they both have to align on you to take you into the Amazon. So if one of them says this candidate is not a right fit, then your chances are pretty low. They both have to say that you are a good fit for the Amazon, then only you are into the Amazon. Anyways, my second interviewer asked me a question based on the binary and I totally nailed that problem by proposing multiple alternative solutions, and pretty much they are all optimal solutions for that problem, depending on if certain conditions are true. And my interviewer seemed pretty happy with my performance, and that boosted a little bit of confidence in me, which carried out through the other interviews for that day. For my third interview, it was again an Amazon engineer who came into the room with a deck of playing cards. So he started asking me the coding question right away, and basically what he did was he pulled out that deck of cards and he explained a game to me, which I have never heard of before, and he explained me the basic rules of the game and asked me to code a solution to find the winner of this game at any given state. I had so many follow-up questions to him because I wasn't sure of like what are the rules of this game and how should I approach this problem. So I had so many questions, and anyways, I got all the data I need to solve this problem, and I chose the right data structures for this problem, and I was able to solve this problem at the end. Usually any coding interviews I have taken before, they are pretty much like solve a problem and they just explain the problem on the board. And but this interview experience was a little different because my interviewer came in with a deck of cards and he explained me the game using this deck of cards. So this is definitely a unique experience for me. For my fourth round, the hiring manager came in, and he is the funny and the most interactive guy compared to the rest of my interviewers. So he started with the behavioral questions just like anyone, and after that, he asked me a system design interview question. As you all know, system interview design questions are ambiguous by design, and there is no right or wrong answer to these kind of questions. And it all depends on like how well you are clearing up this ambiguity and how much you are thinking big. So I should say I didn't do my best in this interview, but I was able to come up with some solution. And my interviewer was helping me through this interview, uh, through this round. I was talking through my approach, and he was correcting me if I am going in the wrong direction, or he was helping me a little bit, or if I am stuck up with some solution or something like that. So finally, I was able to come up with some solution, and I proposed that, and he kind of accepted it. And then he told me that it was one of the recent problems he solved himself for his team. And then I had few questions for him on like a few scenarios where it is really hard to solve that problem, and he answered all of my questions, and that wrapped up my on-site interview. Then my interviewer took me to the reception where I met my recruiter again, and I inquired her about the next steps after this interview process, and I thanked her for helping me throughout the interview process. And then I took a taxi from that Amazon facility to the airport, and I flew back home. Number five, offer and beyond. After a couple of days, my recruiter reached out to me and told me that my hiring manager is satisfied with my performance and Amazon is willing to extend a job offer for me. And I was so happy to hear that, and I thanked her again and asked her what will be the next steps. She told me that she will connect me with a new recruiter, and that new recruiter will take the things from there onwards, like generating the offer letter or talking through the compensation packages or connecting with the um, managers, etc., something like that. And she told me that she's willing to help me if I have any questions in the future. This new recruiter contacted me, and she said she explained me the process from there onwards, and she helped me connect with my potential manager on a call to understand like what the team is about and what the team is currently solving for, and to get an idea of like how my life will be with Amazon with this particular manager or something like that. And after that, we agreed upon a compensation package, and she was able to generate an offer letter based off that with a start date. And she asked me to confirm, like acknowledge that I accept that offer, and I sent that I accepted that offer, and here I am, happily working with Amazon for almost 1.5 years now. I hope I gave you enough information for you to understand what to expect in an Amazon interview. If you still have any questions on the Amazon interview process itself or my Amazon interview experience, feel free to mention them in the comment section below and I will definitely answer them. And if you think this video helped you, please click that like button below so that this video can reach more people just like you and help many people. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to our channel Sprint Master to get notified whenever I upload a new video. As always, thanks for watching this video. This is Ram signing off.